I'm Mary Beth.
Oh, you're muted, sweet darling. Do you know that you're muted? Yeah.
Hi, Mary Beth. I do know you because I've seen you.
Yeah, you've seen my videos. You figured it out. Nice to meet you, Sherry.
Likewise.
Oh, good morning, sweet darling.
Good morning. I apologize. I've been completely disconnected.
That's okay.
I know this is recorded for more than other people, so I won't go into the details, but this is the first day since you guys have been contacting that I've actually had the ability and presence of mind to be able to be here with you. So I apologize for my absence, but it was standing in extraordinary circumstances.
Oh, honey. Well, I think that it's funny because Mary Beth and I were just kind of having a conversation, not about this, but about this, which is about the transparency of process. And we would have named it, but like I think, you know me, my whole lens is always that everything is perfect as it's evolving, and it's only as perfect as we're willing to be conscious to the perfection that's unfolding, right? And like one of the things, like this is a writer's rhythm. What's happening here is a writer's rhythm. People come in, people go out, they come back, they're inspired to come in. And if we can create a container of safety in the writer's adventure where whatever your process is works here, then more writers will write.
Right.
And so I think it's fucking awesome that 3 weeks in, or 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, you're like, I'm here. And we're like, yeah, awesome. This is so yeah, because I mean, for me as a writer, it's like Nicole, who's been working on my one woman show with me, is like, have you written? Have you written? Have you written? And I'm like, fuck, no, I haven't written. I'm dealing with a pandemic right now, you know, and at the same time, knowing that when the time is right, it'll all come out. Mm-hmm. And just knowing she's there and the stuff she's given me, I will draw on it. And it'll probably, like, I gotta trust the timing, or I'm just fighting against myself. So, yeah. Should we check in, or did we just do that? I'm just excited. I'm a little puppy doggish. I'm just excited you're here.
It's awesome. Yeah. And I've just had an extraordinary few weeks that have just sucked life force and self-esteem out of me. And it was all I could do to just keep going day to day. And I accepted a job with a very powerful, and it turns out unscrupulous man who was abusive and controlling. And we made a contract. I moved house. I moved everything into storage, and then I moved into a tiny 400 square foot laneway house. And so I did all of that, gave notice in the time of COVID, right? So I don't have a place to go back to. And he crossed out and changed a bunch of things in the contract, and I had to sign it to take the job. Otherwise I wouldn't have a job. And he said, so you're willing to give up all of this in a precarious time just because of, and he wanted access to my suite without reasonable cause. Yeah. Which is, it's actually, I found out afterwards, it's unenforceable. It's a right as part of the RTA, and it's considered unconscionable behavior. And he said, it's my property. I want to be able to check and see that it's clean enough to my standard. And I said, check with any of my landlords. My places are left, beautifully clean. I've never had a damage deposit questioned, but he wanted to come in every 30 days without reasonable cause just to check it out. And that was I was like, he gave me a lot of benefits, and then he just kept whittling them back and taking them back, and then saying he didn't offer them, or I didn't mean that, or it's like, so in the end, it was a deal breaker for me. And so now I'm homeless and jobless in the time of COVID.
Well, good for you for knowing your boundaries and setting them.
Yeah, I've done it before when I've been in a very precarious position. And there's a great quote that says, any decision purely based on fear is not the right decision, you know, when it comes to business and relationships and stuff like that. And I was totally making that decision of working for him on fear. And in the end, I just went, you can't take away my civil liberties. I literally, the expression, give me liberty or give me death, went through my head so many times. Yeah. So anyway, that happened yesterday. And
give
so
me liberty or give me death.
that's just how, I'm just one of those people. I'm not a servant. I don't have that. I can trade my self-esteem for a paycheck person. And that's what he was doing. He constantly whittled down my self-esteem. He commented on my weight. He had a guest over for dinner, and he said, oh, Ken wants to know if you'll read him a bedtime story. And Ken said, or is that above your pay grade? I said, that's totally out of my pay grade.
Oh my God, this guy sounds like Harvey Weinstein.
That's exactly it. And the thing is there was a confidentiality agreement, part of the contract. And I said, I want a clause that if anyone, you know, abuses me or has an illegal behavior that impacts me, you know, I'm not bound by that confidentiality agreement. And he was furious. He totally pulled a Weinstein on me and just intimidated me and said he was hurt by it and that he wouldn't do it and his friends wouldn't do it. And I said, well, then you shouldn't have a problem with the clause.
I just took off my video because my internet is a bit unstable.
Sure.
So, I don't want to take up recorded time with
And
that.
I can edit this part out too.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But
Absolutely.
it was just a whittling down of my self-esteem and everything. And I just thought, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And since we just have you on our own in this moment, and I'll edit this part out.
Thank you.
I can't help but notice though that the quote that kept talking to you, right? My liberty, or what did you say? My liberty or my...
I think it's from the British Revolution, the revolution, the American Revolution, give me liberty or give me death. Yeah.
Right. There's something really, really juicy for you in there. And if I was Mary Beth, which I'm not, but Mary Beth's brain is probably going, oh, she needs to research that revolution piece and find out what's in there. But my brain just goes to that's likely not just a line in the sand for you. It's likely an anchor point, like what I would call a source anchor, like not a pain, even though it may have been reinforced through painful circumstances, it likely is on the imprint of your being anyway. And then life happens to reinforce the thing that we already are.
That's like 1000% resonates.
So it's probably in your book too. Yeah. So
here's when you say about life unfolding, my friends have a wonderful place on a tiny island off of Salt Spring. I love going there. They've offered it to me to live up in the top suite. And so it's a great writer's retreat.
Nice.
Beautiful. Well, on that note, my dog is like, someone take me for a pee. Someone take me for a pee. Don't worry. I'll be right there. So on that note though, let's dive into writing. And we are supposed to be talking about week 3, which I think we'll do anyway. And we'll just make sure that we tie back to week 1 and 2 as we talk about week 3, Mary Beth.
Yeah.
Which I think, interestingly enough, putting together week 3 was very challenging for Mary Beth and I. And because of that, actually, it was like a really interesting piece of recognizing that every piece connects to every other piece. And so to try to take them out in little compartments is the great invitation and problematic. Right. So why don't we just, Mary Beth, why don't we pull up? Should I pull up week 3 on the screen share, and we'll just just talk through it?
Before we do that, actually, I'd really love to hear from Sherry about how far she's gotten and what her experience has been so far.
0. I've done nothing.
Oh, okay. Got it. Cool. Good to know.
I have been consumed and out of the
Right.
loop.
Got it. Okay. I knew you had a crazy week, but that was not totally clear for me. So that's totally fine. All right, great. So Tina, let's do that.
Okay. Super duper. Super duper.
I'll turn my screen off so you don't have to see my mug.
All right. I like your mug. Mug. Courses. Week 3. So just, we can always talk about this piece, Mary Beth. I think that it doesn't matter what week we're in. We should always talk about what our understandings of a first draft is. Why don't we revisit that first? What do you think?
Sure.
Okay, I'll let you lead. You take the wheel.
Okay, so first of all, Sherry, I should mention, if you haven't kind of gathered this from all the mug shots and seeing Tina and I together, I'm sort of the more linear one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my writing style and the way my process, I would say I actually am the person who wants to rush towards completion and something a little bit more finished. But I think one of the things I've really learned from Tina to appreciate, I've learned tons from her, but is this idea of the first draft being just something where you get the essentials out on the page. So that is what this 28-day course is designed for.
Great.
It's designed to help you kind of put your blinders on to all those things about, like, you worrying about how good it is. But do I need to say that? All the things that are going to hold you up in terms of just writing. We want to move you forward through the whole kind of structure of the book without worrying about it too much. Does that sound good to you, Tina? Anything to add?
No, I think you nailed it. It's just in my own language. It's getting the spine out, like the spine of the book is all there, or where which vertebrae are missing, or like, shit, I don't have a pelvis.
Yeah. And we also want to have a heart in there. I really liked an analogy in one of last week's video of, like, when a baby is in utero, like, you see the pictures of what happens in each stage. And, like, the first thing that happens is the spine and then the heart. So we're, like, very first trimester.
Mm-hmm. Right. Like by the end of your 28 days, you're really just done the first trimester. Like, that's it. And so, like,
don't expect it to come out breathing and talking. That's for sure.
Yeah. All right. Or even, the Chris Corrigan wrote a blog post about the caterpillar thing, right? And there was and even though we know the caterpillar thing, like going to the cocoon and becoming a butterfly, the piece that really spoke to me in his blog post was about the goo. That when before a caterpillar can even become anything else, it's goo. It goes from caterpillar to complete goo in the cocoon. Like, it actually doesn't exist as the form it becomes is goo. And I think at the end of your first draft, you at least have goo on the page.
Yeah.
It's like, it's out of here. And even if it doesn't make sense, like, some people will come out of the end of the 28 days with, like, a shoebox of receipts that they're like, I don't know what's in there, but there's stuff in there. And somebody else might have, like using the body metaphor, right? The spine is in there, or the organs are in there. And somebody else might only have the head and the feet, but at least in their brain, everything that was up here is out on the page. And so
Mhm.
it's like a great big permission slip just to get through the fucking beginning, middle, end. So that's a good place to start, actually. On week 3, what we're doing is and so Sherry, it's okay that you're not here. It's really, really okay. Week 3 is about writing into the scenes in between and around the different vertebrae that you may or may not have landed in week 1 or week 2. But again, everything is connected to everything else. So what we've given you on day 15 is an outline of what Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 is, like what the scenes kind of are in really basic language. And then the assignment on day 15 is to list them all out. So just to take a look at this, like Act 1, somebody's somewhere. Something happens to make them want to go somewhere else. Then they debate if they should go. Then they decide to go. End of Act 1. That's it. So essentially, those are 4 scenes. And yes, there could be 12 scenes, but if all you had were those 4 scenes, you'd at least have Act 1. Act 2 is a bit more, it's still as simple, but Act 2 is like, they head out, they usually meet somebody or something along the way, they discover stuff. Then something makes the journey difficult. Then they succeed, then they fail, then they succeed, then they fail, then they fail, then they fail, then they fail. And then they decide if they're going to keep going. End of Act 2.
Mhm.
Again, basic, basic, basic. Act 3, something happens, which clicks all the things together. They're changed somehow, then they reflect. End of book. And so I thought we'd just open up conversation just about that structure first, because I think even just that structure for a lot of people can be daunting, or can be, well, my book's not like that. Like, let's talk about those things we're going, my book's not like that. And let's see if we can support how it is or how it's not. Because that's part of it too. It's almost like when we can see a spine, we can go, oh, well, mine's not like that. So then what is mine? Oh, mine is like that. Now I know how to write into it. It's all about answering the, well, what is, whether, and again, like based on the resistance of if this is the spine, what is and what is not. So we just open up. Yeah.
So to me, I could be wrong, but this looks like the hero's journey.
Yeah.
But really, I've never seen it explained this succinctly and linear in a way that I can actually see my book in it. And when you were talking and I'm reading, I can see my book in every single bit. And I was like, boom. Like,
wow.
I have written this out before. So I actually have the shitty first draft in bullet point.
Mm-hmm.
But I could never see, how it all Here, I can see it all. Like, I'm actually shaking. I'm so excited. Like, because I can see how all that I've done, that shitty first draft and those bullet points is like, okay, so that's the infertility, that's the divorce. This is, the period, the wandering. And then, Act 3 is coming back to Canada. And then the reflection, oh my God, I'm so excited. But apart from that, I have no feedback.
Cool. Well, that's really exciting to hear that it makes sense for you.
Yeah.
Because Tina and I never actually know whether it makes sense to anyone other.
Oh, it so makes sense. Yeah.
And I think just to address the hero's journey, the thing about the hero's journey that is true and also like makes me crazy is that because the term heroes on it, it gives us a belief that the journey has to go somewhere heroic. And what I love about Mary Beth's passion for the book, The Road, it ends on a very non-heroic tone, but has the possibility of heroism in there. And when we take the word hero out of it, what we're left with is a journey that has a beginning, middle, end that we get to write about. One of the things that I love about myth structure is that myth structure rarely ever ends on a heroic statement. we as the reader of myth get to decide if the ending was heroic or not. But it's still this journey. There's still a reflection. There's still, someone's still changed. Something still happens. And then Mary Beth, I'd love for you, Mary Beth, to talk about your geeking out with Ferris Bueller, because in week 3, we talk a lot about Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and Mary Beth totally geeked out on it. And what's cool about it is that this structure exists, but it's all fucked up.
Right. So what was so fun about the Ferris Bueller thing is, I think Tina and I just picked that because it's a movie we've both seen a zillion times. We know it inside out and backwards, although I can't say I've necessarily watched it in the past 20 years. But anyways, hold on a second. I'm just going to turn my camera on. Someone came to visit.
Oh.
Hey, sweetie.
Hello.
I'm on a meeting. Okay, I love you. Can you shut my door, honey? Please? Okay, hold on. I'm going to shut my door. It's kind of loud out there.
Oh, cutie pie.
So we love and no one loved Ferris. So we're like, oh, this is easy. We should be able to just pick out, what are the critical points in Act 1, 2, and 3 in that movie. And the more we dug into it, and me in particular, because I took a bit of extra time, was we saw that it was like the perfect example of breaking all the rules and mixing up all the pieces. And so I kind of, when I think about people who are maybe writing a book who the pieces are mixed up like that, obviously yours is, you don't feel you're facing that dilemma at this point. I think when we move into draft 2, 3, and 4, actually, that's where we're going to be moving the pieces around. So, draft 1, let's get the pieces out there, and they don't even have to make sense right off the bat. It's about like following your first instinct about what you think those pieces may be.
Mm-hmm.
And for you, Sherry, because you've already written the first draft in a way, I'm thinking I would really love it. I don't want to kind of make work for you because I hate doing that to people. But I still think it would be really cool to see what happened or what changed when you followed this process, just kind of diving in instinctually to days 1 through 28 kind of thing.
Well, it's so funny is because I've packed everything up and there's stuff in storage in 2 different places. I have no idea where it is. So I can start from scratch.
Yeah, and then it'll be interesting to look at the 2 and you have double the stuff to work from, and you'll know what is right for you in your book, and you'll know like what's not. But that doesn't mean, I don't know, it's really good to kind of gather all that stuff.
I can handle more work.
Cool. And I think there's also, Mary Beth was sharing this last week about one of our clients who wrote her first draft in writing prompts, which is what created this, right? Like, oh, there is something here. And Mary Beth was saying that now she's working on draft 2 and parts of her book are further along, that as in the editing process, they were cutting scenes. And then Mary Beth said, yeah, but what are the 3 things that are most important here? And the 3 things that she said were directly related to the writing prompt, which is interesting because I think that, like, to go back into your draft using this through writing prompts, it almost forces us to speak to the very guts only of each piece. Like when I look, so what the purpose of week 3 is to give each writer a sense of where they're going. Because week 1 and week 2, all we really did was write about the organs of the book, and they're all over the place. It's like, what's the conflict? What's the theme? Central? What are you establishing? That kind of stuff. And then we move into week 3, and we're like, now where does all this stuff fit? And so each of these things, like, are nouns, right? Every time you see a noun, that's a scene or a verb. So someone is somewhere. That's a scene, 2 nouns. What's that scene? Where's that someone? Where are they? They debate if they should do it. It's pink because that's the scene. What's the scene that delivers the debate? And what you don't see in here are the organs that we talked about in Act 1 and Act 2. The only thing you see in here are the connective tissue between them. All right. Anything there, Mary Beth, that I just said?
Nope.
Okay. I particularly love day 16. I changed some of your wording, Mary Beth, not all of them. And what I love about day 16 is the word situation. That every scene is a situation. And when you're writing into the writing prompts in this particular week, we can bring that lens in. Hi, Muttley, I know. I'm gonna hand over in just a sec, okay? And I'll take you out. Give me a sec, okay? I promise. I hear you. I know. Is to write, head into the writing prompt with an understanding that you're actually in a situation, that's the goal of the writing prompt, is to write the situation. Because if you're writing from the lens of situation, action's going to happen. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And this is the basic of it. I did this, which made this happen. And we talked a little bit about this last week, that sometimes, like, one of the places that writers often can get lost and not get to the end. And it's not that it's a bad thing. It's just the goal of a 28-day program is to get to the end of the 28 days with the beginning, middle, end done. But sometimes writers get into this lateral writing where it's, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and it's lateral. And in a 28-day process where we want to get from beginning, middle, end, it's got to be, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, or, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. That as soon as you start writing laterally, you're not going to get to the end of your book. It's okay. It's just, you would call that exploration, which is awesome. It's just a different game. And somebody earlier, from Friesen, was actually saying that they're noticing that they didn't write for 8 minutes, they wrote for 2 hours. And I'm like, that's awesome. Because when we start to write laterally, we're exploring and we're creating content, which is so great. And so it's not that we shouldn't write laterally, it's just knowing where you are when you're writing. If you're writing to get to the end, you've got to be doing this or doing this, doing this and this. But when you're writing like this, you're exploring, which is great. It's just different.
Can you give me an example of writing like this and writing like this?
Sure. Let's take a look at, okay, day 17. Day 17 is yay and yuck, or as Mary Beth called it, growth, which is you're in a scene and you've named your thematic conflict. So your thematic conflict, you know, might be, so like in my book, in the You Matter book, and I'm telling the triathlon story, it's Tina versus Tina. Like, I am totally up against my self-doubt, right? So every scene is moving into that self-doubt, and I'm either going to get it, meaning I come out the other side going, hey, I had no self-doubt today, or I don't get it. Fuck, I had fucking self-doubt today and it rolled me back 3 days. And so a scene that goes up, you're either escalating. So Ferris Bueller, you're either escalating, I'm getting what I want. Yay, yay, yay. I'm having a great day. Yay, yay, yay. Or I'm having a great day. Fuck, Cameron doesn't have a great day, right? Cameron's like, I'm going out for a great day. And then I realize I'm sick. I'm going out for a great day. And then I realize I'm at the museum and I'm all alone. I'm going out for a great day and I realize, fuck, my car just got 3,000 kilometers put on it. Fuck. So you see where I'm going? So he's going like this, which creates his transformative breakthrough. That help? You either froze, Mary Beth, or I froze, or you're thinking.
I'm here. No, okay. I just want to hear what Sherry thinks of this.
Oh, that makes sense. I understand now. Okay. Yeah. So I
But
just
then writing like this.
so but the thing was is I guess I pictured writing being like this, never this or never this and never that. Just more like boom, that's all. So and I wanted to know the examples, like yeah.
Yeah.
So there's never a book that just goes like this, and there's never a book that just goes like that, is there? Or just like that?
Probably not one that we've read.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. And I will say though, there was a movie that was super popular in the 90s about, I think it was Ethan Hawke, Before Sunrise.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
They're on that plane, and I hated that movie.
Couldn't finish it.
Right?
Yeah.
Couldn't finish it because it was in the way I experienced it anyway, it was this. And then at the end, I'm like, what? I'm not changed? What? And I don't want to tear it apart. I want to name that the director made a specific choice, that was actually the experience that he wanted the viewer to have. It was a day in the life, and it was on purpose.
Right.
It's not that that this or this or this is wrong. It's knowing what the choice is and why you're making that choice.
Yeah.
And then doing it deliberately. Like for Before Sunrise, they would have had to edit all of the ups and downs out because that was off. That was not where he was going. So yeah. And a really clean draft, which is not what you're going to have now. A really clean draft. When you get to draft 4, you should be able to look back at draft 1 if you've done all the spine pieces and go, all I really want are the spine pieces. How do I make draft 4 as succinct as draft 1, but sound better?
I also think, and I think this is a realization I came to in our conversation about one of our other clients the other day, and that is, for some people, you might actually need to write 3 of these, right? For 3 like different storylines.
Ah, right.
Right? And then you see how they intersect, right? Or like Ferris Bueller, you could think of it. It's like, I could do the first draft Ferris storyline. I could do the first draft Cameron storyline. I could do the first draft Mr. Rooney storyline, right?
That's wicked.
Mm.
Yeah, I love that. And in fact, really, well, film language is like that, right? There's A story, B story,
Yeah.
there's A camera, B camera, and then there's coverage.
Yeah.
Actually shot that exact way.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay. Not that. I don't want that. Goals and stairs. I think the other piece, go ahead.
No, I was going to say with goals and stairs, I think we kind of went through that with the yay and yuck type thing. It's just the goal is what's the thing that's driving you, your character forward. And then the stairs are just like the challenge along the way.
Yeah. I think this is worth spending a little bit of time just unpacking because it was really like cool when we put it together, and I think it connects to the yay and yuck, what we're just talking about. Is before each turning point or in each turning point, there's this no turning back moment, and writing that scene is a really important part, and it's really juicy, and I wouldn't expect anybody to be able to do it in 8 minutes. That's not what I'm suggesting. It's more like recognizing that a great story has these no turning back moments in it where the reader goes, oh my God, what the hell is going to happen now? And the writer goes, I need to set this up so that they really get the magnitude of what this is all about. I'd almost want to call this, like in terms of guts language, it really is magnitude. It's like it's where it's the scene where it's like the wind at the back of the character. They're like thrust. They can't go back anymore. Yeah, I just want to open up that. I want to acknowledge the challenge of that scene, and I also want to acknowledge the importance of it, and to really, from a gut writer, let your gut guide you.
I think the other thing we're just trying to like kind of move into in terms of our process and what we want to help our writers move into, in part so that they have a sense of satisfaction about their work, is the actual creation of a scene.
Mm-hmm.
And how do we prompt people to do that? Because it is one thing to write about this happened, this hasn't happened, this happened, and it's another thing to write a description of a person or situation. But how do you meld those things into an action and in a situation?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So how do you?
Well, I mean, I think the key for me, I think, and it'll be really interesting to see the way these turn out for people, it's about putting those two together, right? You let the action drive it. Tina, if you scroll up a little bit.
Scroll up here, yeah.
Yeah, so I like this: turning point, consequence, conflict. So there's a turning point, say, I forgot my lunch is the turning point, and there's a consequence of that. I have to go hungry. And maybe because of that consequence, there's a conflict. I get hangry on someone and treat like my classmate or my coworker really badly. And it leads to this whole other cascade, right? So what is, if we talk about writing that scene, we're not writing, I forgot my lunch. We're writing, here I am facing the consequence. I don't have my lunch and I'm hungry. And in walks this person who I go, ah! So how do I write that situation? Well, I was sitting at my desk in my classroom or wherever, and I can't believe what came out of my mouth when so-and-so walked up to me, It's about putting these pieces together in one sort of situation. And I mean, I don't know how that's going to turn out for people. This is in a way why we have beta testers like you going in there. Like, are you going to read our stuff and be able to do it? I don't know. It doesn't have to be perfect either.
I think you named it. What's really cool is previous to this, we said, write the situation. And so that's one way in. What is the situation? Which is almost like a formula. This plus this equaled that. This is the situation. Or this plus this, that's the situation. And then the consequence is equals that. And so it's being able to pull the pieces out and name them and then write into those little pieces until they intersect. And we end the week on just picking a scene you want to write. And what we talked about here is that, remember a scene, like these are the pieces that are in a scene. It establishes where we are emotionally, physically, and mentally. Some people talk about that through exposition. Like I'm reading a beautiful book, Soldier of the Great War, right now. And Mary Beth, you wrote, what's that Sun book that you gave me a long time ago that I couldn't get through, but was really beautiful?
The Lacuna.
The Lacuna. So that writer uses exposition, details of place, to establish emotional and physical, like where we are emotionally, physically, mentally. Other people might use dialogue to establish the emotional, where we are emotionally, physically, mentally. Some people might use action, like an action movie. Movies are great examples. Like the different genres of movies are great ways to figure out, how do I write? Do I lead with action? Do I lead with exposition? At this point, you may not know. Just explore and notice, right? But every scene establishes where we are emotionally, physically, mentally. It moves us closer to the thematic conflict in some way. It tells a specific plot point that simply has to happen. And at this point, don't worry. Perfection, I don't want to get us like crazy about, does it have to happen? At this point, nobody knows. It's draft one. But over time, we know when to cut things, because that thing that we wrote doesn't actually move us closer or not.
And
right?
Some of the scenes might actually be putting day 14, 15, and 16 into one thing.
Yeah. And a scene also has a special detail about the character or a moment in time. And those special details, I mean, to me, in really basic language, those special details are clues. They're like, why this detail? Why do I care about this detail? And you as a writer might not know right now. It might just be because you just fucking love that teacup and you can't not write about that teacup. And then if you can't not write about it, and then see if it takes you into a clue. It might, and it might not. And Mary Beth on draft 4, when we start editing, it's like, okay, we got to kill your babies. Sorry, we've got to like, I know they're like, that cup is like your favorite thing, but like, it actually doesn't do anything. But then we have to sit with, oh, do I really need that cup? You're like, okay, then it's got to be here for a reason and we have to justify it. Okay. And every scene has an obstacle. Yuck. So does that help in answering that's at the end of the week? It's like, how do I do that? This is a bit of a checklist to help you get there.
Sherry, I really worry about overwhelming you with Tina and I having on and on and on.
No, it's not about overwhelm. It's just I realize how much I have to learn. Like, so there's too much information right now for me to absorb like fully. But this is a session to help explore this information. Just makes me realize how much I have to go back and then work on this and learn.
I also, on that note, like, you also have to understand about Tina and I, we're not asking you to be a good student, right? Like that's, we don't operate from that place at all. If something we say or write in one of our explanation resonates with you, then run with that. But if there's something you don't understand, then you can just ignore it, right? Like, again, this work is about tapping into your instincts. And if you learn stuff along the way, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Mary Beth, you need to say that again, because I love what you just said. This work is about tapping into your instincts. And if you learn something along the way, great.
Yeah. And you will learn something along the way, but not necessarily from what Tina and I tell you. You'll learn from your own process and doing the work.
Right.
Oh, God, I love that, Mary Beth. I love that so much. It really goes back to God, if we've done anything right, and the end of any product we put out there is that we want our writers to remember that they love writing.
And that I want you as a writer to feel like after you've completed something, that you're so much better than you were before, and to have a greater level of confidence going into the next thing.
Yeah. Cool. And at the end of this deliverable, that you actually get to beginning, middle, end.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the adventure of it all. Cool. Why don't we circle back, because we did just we've given you a lot, and it's also because we're in week 3. But I also know, given that you've written a book before and you've got a draft done, that I know that this will just settle, the pieces that need to settle in will, and the rest of it you'll come back to anyway. But why don't we just close up with what's alive in us right now about our own book or process, or just what's alive in us right now. And if there's anything that we need. I'll go first, even though I'm not a client, but I have needs too. I'll be the demonstrator model. I want to say thank you. I'm really alive with your feedback of the clarity of everyday language of that process. I mean, of the Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. It was very affirming for what sometimes feels like a soup in my mind. So that's really alive for me. I'm also alive with my own book. I can hear in my own book the triathlon journey right now, which is interesting. It's actually on my whiteboard right there. And I don't know why it's on my whiteboard. I'm like, why is that there? Why did I put that there? Because it wasn't connected to my book, but now I know that it is. So that's really alive for me. And Mary Beth, this isn't asked for you, I guess, because you're supporting me in my book. We're writing partners. I think my ask would be to remind me of that. You said this thing to me this week, actually, about how when you read something that I'm writing, that you always know that it's me. So if you can just, I don't even think I have an ask because you've actually already answered it. But so I just want to say thank you for that reminder. And my ask of myself, maybe, and all of us, is to hold me to that voice.
Cool.
Okay. There, I'm done.
I'm alive with the energy in which you greeted me on the call. That just, you just like do love and moonbeams and out of your being in your body. And I just think, wow, your boys get that all the time. What good men they're going to be in the world for having that kind of love, that when they walk into the room, that's how you see them. And that's like, that's how we raise good people, right? Mm-hmm. So that made me feel alive. And it's kind of funny because the title of my book is The Inconceivable Love of Baroness von Strong, making sense and meaning from infertility.
Wow.
So, and I love the two, I'm always a punster. So the two plays on words in the title. And I'm starting to see I've had so much angst and frustration over the last 3 weeks, but now I'm seeing the divinity in it, of being able to go to this place, which is the perfect writer's retreat at this time. And if not for COVID, if I wouldn't have taken this job, if I hadn't have taken this job, I wouldn't have moved my stuff into storage. If I hadn't moved my stuff into storage, I wouldn't have had the courage to pay rent in a place and go to a writer's retreat, like that place. And so Maribeth, you congratulated me on, following my gut and making a strong and tough decision. And I just kept and the words of the person was saying, you're an idiot to give this up in this time. And so this call I just thought it's just a classic of tapping into intuition. And I was like, I haven't done anything, but I'm going to go to the call. And I just feel like there's divinity in what you guys are doing. And that I got invited into it, and I can see it. I can just see divinity in everything that's happening. So I'm really grateful to you both.
Well, for me, I don't know. I wanted to say thank you for showing up, because, it's great when Shatina and I book this Saturday morning thing and we get to chat and hang out ourselves. But it's also, I don't know, I really want to hear from the people who are doing this work, who are going to do this work. It's really important for us to understand where it works for people and where it doesn't. And I don't expect any of this to land for everyone. But the fact that you are willing to go through this process with us shows a level of trust, which I'm super grateful for.
Yeah, well, you guys are super trustworthy. And I do like your tough look with the ripped denim shirt.
I was saying to my husband, I'm like, I think I might try and patch my favorite shirt today.
That's a badass writer outfit.
Yeah.
Oh, I love you so much.
This is what you do during a pandemic. You find those old clothes and patch them up.
I love her like I love nobody else. Like I just don't, I've never met another Mary Beth out there. I just love you. Oh my gosh. I want to come back to you, Sherry. If there's an ask inside of you that wants to be heard. And there doesn't need to be just checking in.
Yeah. I know I have to go back to the beginning and of the course, and just start. And I just feel a sense that divinity is pushing me to do this. And the piece in here, you know, you said I wrote a book before. It was, you know, I did it on my own terms in many ways. But I always thought I had to teach something. And I realized that the books that do the best, that serve the most, aren't about teaching. They're about, this is what I needed to write and what I needed to learn, and in going over this, you know, and making sense out of all of this. So that's where, I think it was Mary Beth, you said tapping into the instincts, and along the way you'll learn something. So that's what I'm prepared to do.
Cool.
It's okay, Muttley. It's okay. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, gang. Come here. Hey. Hey. I'm just going to mute myself just for a sec because I'm probably annoying.
Okay.
I'm good.
Do you have an ask, Mary Beth? I didn't ask.
No, I don't have an ask, but whether we hear from you next, well, okay, here's my ask. Whether we hear from you next week or 4 weeks from now, I would just, I just would love to hear at some point how it's going, how it's gone, you know.
Absolutely.
Even if you just want to shoot us a little email with a few like highlights and lowlights, that'd be super cool.
Great. Thanks.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for being here. And carry on. Right on. Right on. Oh, that's funny. Right on. Oh, okay. Oh boy. Pun. Okay. I'll just blame you. It's because you're here.
Yeah.
Okay. Mwah. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.